Have you ever been out to a steak restaurant and had your steak delivered on a hot stone or a hot plate? If you have, you're going to love this episode, as that is what our guest does today. And they sell these products internationally, but they have got some marketing challenges. And we're going to get into those marketing challenges and see how we can help this brand to scale and get back to those COVID heydays. It's going to be a good one, this. Let's get into it. Welcome to Grow with Evergreen, the podcast designed to help you grow your business by providing practical insights into all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy. Every episode, we help home, garden, and lifestyle brands with their growth challenges by delving into their business, dissecting what they're doing, and defining a digital growth strategy they can take and deploy into their business. Let's get into it. Right, so welcome back, beautiful people. I hope you're all doing well. As we're recording this, the weather is beautiful outside and life is good. Feels like summer is finally in full swing. Really interesting one for you today. So we've got a brand called stakstones.com. What they sell is these hot stones, these hot plates. And they sell them to both restaurants as well as customers. Give you a little bit of background, paint a picture for you. So they've been going for many, many years, I think about 15 plus years. So it's a small operation. They have, in years gone by, got their revenues up to and surpassing over £1 million. They sell these these hot stones, these hot plates internationally. So in the UK, the US, Australia, all over the place. And just talking to Nick, who's our guest today, I'll bring him on shortly, before he came on, really interesting sort of background and story. And through COVID, as so many brands, particularly in the home garden lifestyle space, so many brands had a real bumper time in COVID. And then that has sort of eased off a little bit. And I think more recent times have proved to be a little bit more tricky. And so he's coming on the pod today because he's got some marketing challenges. The first one that he's noted down is that he's just seeing a declining website performance. Now, talking in the pre-chat chat, he has just made some pretty big changes to how his online business is set up. So that's going to be really interesting to sort of unpick that and go, okay, what was done? Why was it done? How was it done? Because he's a little bit worried that maybe some of the things he's done maybe aren't the right things and so on. The second challenge is we're going to talk about social media and how do we get that engagement and what he's doing there. And then it's the other sort of key challenge he's got is how he can get in front of restaurateurs. So if you can imagine this brand, this product, it always had a nice healthy mix of selling these products into the end user, so into the customer at home, wanting to replicate that restaurant experience at home, and then obviously into the restaurant. So when you go out to a steak and it gets delivered on these platters, these hot plates, all adds to that experience. Very, very cool. That restaurant market has not returned since COVID in the same way it was pre-COVID. So all in all, it presents a few challenges. I'm really interested. This is a little bit different, this one, and I'm really keen to get into it. So I think what we'll do, Darren, if you're happy, we'll bring Nick on and then we'll go from there. Good stuff. Right, Nick, are you there, my friend?
I am here. Thank you. Yes.
Good stuff. Well, welcome, Nick. Welcome to the Grow with Evergreen podcast. Delighted to have you on, my friend. So I just gave a very quick summary there, but do you want to just give us a little bit of background? What is Stakstones? How long have you been going? Just give us a snapshot, 30 seconds. What's your business? Over to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I was looking to start my own business and didn't really know what that was going to be in. And I'd eaten in the churrascarias out in Brazil and been shouted at by a French chef in a restaurant in Versailles about how I wanted my steak cooked. And I just thought, I enjoy hot food. I enjoy hot steak. And there must be a way to be able to, cook something live at the table without flames and candles and electricity and all that kind of thing. So we investigated a lot of different stones. And actually took me back to a piece of lava that my grandfather brought me back from a trip to Mount Vesuvius once. And I sort of saw it sitting on the cabinet and thought, yeah, lava must be pretty good with heat. So, we experimented. And actually the day before I went on Dragon's Den, I found the supply that we still use for our stone, which is really the unique part of our product. And I walked onto Dragon's Den with the stone sizzling away, not knowing if the thing was going to explode or do anything silly on TV. So that was quite a nerve-wracking experience, apart from the obvious. But unfortunately, the dragons had literally just been out for steak for lunch when I went on at 2
really?
o'clock.
Okay.
So it's all in the timing, right? But at the same time, we got some.
How long ago was it?
17 years ago, 2000. Well, nearly 18 now. 2000.
How long had Dragon's Den been going at that point? It must
that long, right? We were the second series. We were the second episode of the second series. And
wow. So who were the Dragons? I'm fascinated. So obviously you would have had Peter Jones. Who else was on
Peter
there?
Peter Jones was there, Theo Pafitas, Duncan Bannatyne, Deborah Meaden, and we had a guy, Richard Farley, who was an Aussie tech guy. And he just couldn't get the fact that we were trying to take this concept that, it kind of existed in a commercial setting. People were telling you had to have 500-degree ovens. And he was like, well, what are you doing? I said, well, we're bringing it to the consumer market. And he was a tech guy, as I said. And, he was like, well, how's it different to anything that's out there? I said, well, it's like, IBM, they bought the PC to the home. It's changed the market for that. So we're just trying to create something people can heat these directly at home and use them and have, fun for dinner parties and so on. So, we didn't get the funding, but we got some good exposure.
I was going to say that must have been very good. So the other key question before we go any further, how do you have your steak? Because you sort of mentioned, you mentioned it very briefly there. I'm not letting that one slip through the net. How do you have your steak? You don't ruin it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have every bite exactly as I like, and that's what really what our tagline is. This isn't about cooking a steak and then letting it rest and eating each mouth exactly as it's prepared. It's about cutting and cooking live in front of you, and because you've got the high sear heat on the stone, you like it a little bit more well done. You can cut some strips and turn those, and those will start to cook through. If you like it rare, you can cut it and just sear the outside, and off you go. So the stone will retain a sizzling heat for 20 to 30 minutes.
So where do you sit then? Where are you on the well done, or do you like to just give it a tease?
If I'm in a restaurant, there's many times around the world, Chicago style armadillo. I like it, crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. So that's where I go. I like it seared but still succulent on the inside, and that's that's typically what we do, is retain that succulence in the steak rather than cooking it out of it.
Okay, I like it. Darren behind the scenes, he's looking at me with the biggest grin on his face. What? Go on. What have you got?
Well, I'm just wondering if you were going to out me or not.
he's going for well done, isn't he?
But
he's going for well done.
You've walked into it now. Darren cremates it.
Yeah, I like to.
But this is the point. I literally did have a French chef come out of a restaurant with my steak, which I'd sent back to be cooked because it was still blue. And he said, "Whose is this?" With his big French chef hat on, and I said, "It's mine." Sheepishly in the corner, he said, "Why kill it twice?" I was like, "Just once would be good, Once would be."
I think we've only been out for a steak, you and I, like once or twice, haven't we? And each time I have to sort of just through grit teeth.
Yeah, but he has to shut his ears.
Yeah, although
we're going to have to get you out for dinner, and then you can experiment and see exactly.
I'm a medium rare, but then you think that's Harriet, my wife, she is a blue. So she it's like tease it with the, just tease it and then it's done. And
just give it the idea of
it's
heat.
Just sort of waft it above the hot stone and that'll do.
But this is also the point, like why we're pretty popular in restaurants. We had a bit of a battle early on with the chefs going, "Come on, mate, you're trying to do me out of a job." But ultimately they realize that they get so many steaks back to the kitchen because your impression of medium and mine and your wife's or whoever's is completely different. So, this way we actually have a restaurateur in Ireland, and, one of the perceptions that people have is, why do I want to go out to a restaurant and cook it myself? But he does a 10-minute challenge, and he says, "Look, if after 10 minutes you would prefer me to take this back and cook it my way, then I'll do that." And, in 15 years, he's never had a steak back to the kitchen, because once people start doing this, they enjoy it. It's a fun, sociable experience. It rouses all the senses. So, it's always really memorable as well. We've had it, which has been great for our restaurants over the years, that people always go back and take friends back and, kind of show off about it. It is just a fun experience.
It is. And I've had exactly these in restaurants and done this. And as I said, I think my wife's about to be your next customer, because when she saw you were coming on the pod, she was straight on the website. She was like, "These look nice." She said, "These look nice." So I think she's eyeing up, one or two of the packages. So
fortunately, for me, there's only one type of well done. There's only one type. There might be lots of variations of medium rare, but
nice. Yeah, ruined.
We'll bring you back from the edge again. Most people who like their steak more well done, it's because they don't like to see the red meat. So, with this, you are browning off the outside. You are. You're still retaining that succulence inside the steak. So, I think we could convert you at least to medium well.
Yeah, let's see.
And as we're recording this, it's almost lunchtime. With all this talk of steaks, we should be very hungry. So
we've got the right timing for this. I was due to go on the Dragon's Den at 11 in the morning. I thought that would be the perfect timing. I knew the producer, and he said, "Look, this would do you well." And then they had a guy in who was there for 2.5 hour negotiation before me, and it completely scuppered all the plans. And as I say, we walked up the stairs, and Duncan Bannatyne literally said, "Oh no, not more bloody steak." I
love it.
I've never felt the wind come out of me so much.
I want to delve straight into these marketing challenges, because I think we can add some massive value here on the pod today. So just give us a little bit of a sense in terms of the business, sort of what does the business look like today in terms of your marketing, your paid media? Yeah, just sort of paint a picture for us. And then from there, we'll delve into the specifics.
Yeah, in the early days, we did a lot of trade shows. We did consumer shows and commercial shows, the restaurant shows. And that got us a kind of, I guess, a core number of restaurants which started using the products. And from that, other restaurants saw that. And from that, we had the content that we could push out and, the examples that we could always give to another restaurant. So as the restaurants built up, the interest in the product and the concept built up. And obviously, we just have to try and, boss the search terms that people are looking for, whether that's hot stone cooking or steak on the stone or, volcanic rocks cooking, whatever those terms are, we try and obviously own those on that. And we still have a registered trademark on steak stones. It was very close to being unregisterable because it is a stone you cook steak on, but that was where we got to in the end with the branding. It was like, well, it's a steak stone, but it's only a steak stone because you now know of the concept steak stones as in our brand. So, so from a brand point of view, I think, we're obviously pretty strong. We kind of describe what we do. We try and own that space online. And, really the beauty of our concept for us, to date has been that the more restaurants use it, the more people see it, the more people see it, the more people want it and go online and search, and we try and catch them there. But obviously, I mentioned earlier during COVID, we were actually overseas when COVID hit. We were down in New Zealand, just kind of traveling and working with our kids for a couple of years, and we knew pretty much straight away that the global restaurant trade, you could just see it, within a few weeks was going to almost die a death, certainly for a period. And so we flipped all of that marketing. We put all of our spend, into consumer marketing, mostly through Google, and doing that kind of thing. And, as I mentioned, we had some really good years there. Our challenge now largely is that, the restaurants are still in a really tough world. And that's not just in the UK, although I'd say specifically in the UK. We're really doing very few restaurant sales, which, we could always rely on before as traffic and also therefore our marketing for us. So really our marketing now is down to, social media, to our website, to Google ads, trying to get people aware of the concept. And, that's the challenge. It's a great concept when you've had it and you know about it. If you don't know what it is, it maybe sounds a little bit alien.
So at the minute, so in terms of turnover, what size is the business right now?
We'll be around 600K this year, which is.
And how much of that is direct to consumer versus, say, restaurants?
It would, in a normal world, be around 50-50. We do also have some retail partners, so the split used to be probably sort of 40-40-20, so consumer, restaurant, retail.
So ideal 50-50, and that's what it's been previously. What's it today, do you estimate?
I'd say we're closer to 90-10 restaurants. Wow. And it might be more like 80-20. Certainly UK-wise, we're not doing much restaurants, but we are.
So mostly now so e-commerce, essentially.
Mostly, yeah, and that's how people are finding us. But we still have quite a lot of restaurant brands that we do in the US and the Middle East and things. So,
and what proportion of your business then is UK versus US, Australia? Sort of how weighted are you towards the UK market?
Less and less, to be honest. The US is the growth market for us. The UK, again, as I say, I won't go into it again, but if we're not selling to the restaurants, people aren't seeing it, people aren't buying it. It seems to be pretty much as straightforward as that. So, the US is a growing market, I'd say, for us.
Fine. So, so you put a rough proportion on it. So how much, if you had to weight it and sort of go, it's 20% on the UK or 50% in the US, like roughly weight it. I just want to get a sense of the market.
Yeah, I'd say 20% UK, 50 US, 20 Oz, and a little bit elsewhere.
Okay. So have you seen then, if you're seeing, it makes all the sense in the world that, fewer restaurants doing this, therefore fewer people are seeing it. So are you seeing that? Have you looked at your search data to just see the volume, the trends, the volume of people? Are fewer people searching for this product than, say, a couple of years ago? Do you know that or not?
Absolutely. Yeah,
they are.
Yeah,
so
we do.
You can see that fewer people, there's less brand visibility for them. You can see that, yeah?
Yeah, okay. Traffic is down. That's an absolute. But we've been working hard to try and make sure that the traffic that is coming to us is is, there and is very specific. And this is a battle we're having with our Google agency at the moment, is that they're saying, well, you don't want to waste money on terms like how do you cook steak, but at the same time, that might be a big audience and they might be looking mostly for barbecues or frying pans, but we need to be in that in that discussion as well to, to capture some of those. So I feel like we've turned the dials too far at the moment, and, the spend is, the ROI is good, but, I'd rather drop the ROI a bit and, pick up a few more customers.
Yeah, no, okay, it makes sense. So what I want to understand now then is let's delve a little bit into the paid media, because you mentioned the Google ads. So what are we spending on Google ads? What sort of return are we getting? Do you know what campaigns you're running? Like, what does that look like on the Google ads side specifically?
We had a bit of a disaster with PMax with Google, so we went back to an agency that we'd used previously, who has still split that out to shopping campaigns and search campaigns. Those are the ones that were working for us previously, so that's what we're doing at the moment, and we have those set up largely similarly in the different locations, obviously, linked through to our seller central. So, we spend different amounts in the different locations, depending obviously on the size.
So when you say different locations, you mean countries? So you're going to have campaigns for the UK, the US, Australia. Are they the three main markets?
They're the three main markets. We do a little bit across Europe, obviously, and the rest of the world as well. But those
fine. Within the one ad account, you've got different campaigns for the different geo-target areas.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And what are you spending on Google Ads a month, on an average month?
Well, not enough at the moment, because we're not finding the market. So, we'd be happily spending 10K, if we had the.
Yeah, sure. But what are you spending now?
This month, July, $2,000.
Wow. Okay. And so if you look at the last few months, is $2,000 roughly about right, or does it flux? Does it change? What's an average month if you think of the last few months?
Yeah, right now that's average for the last 3 or 4.
Blimey. And so why are we spending? So is that because the market's not there, or you just can't get the conversion or the cost per acquisition? What's holding you back on ramping it up?
Well, as I mentioned, I think our agency have turned the dials too much to try and make sure that the ROAS is really high on that number. So
what is the ROAS you're trying to get?
Well, we're up to 5 times on that number at the moment.
And that's the target, is it, at the minute? You're trying to hit 5 times. What does the business need?
I'm happy above 3.5, to be honest. So
okay. So happy above 3.5, fine. And so you're happy because the margin is going to allow for that to happen. Yeah. In terms of a lifetime value for this, if I buy a product, what do you know the frequency with which I might return or buy another product? Or
that's always been one of our big issues as well. The product lasts too well. We need to be a bit more Mission Impossible and make it self-destruct after 2 years or something. Okay. But again, on the flip side of that, people come back to us. They know it's quality. They know the brand stands for something, and they're going to buy it as a gift.
But you've got a variety of products on the website, so that you've got different sort of things that if I buy one product and I really like it and I find value in it, there are other things that I could buy as well.
There are, but people's kitchen cupboards are somehow limited, aren't they? I mean, we've got 2 huge cupboards with all the different sets in when we do things, but I'm not sure everyone's that generous. But we've got sharing platters and we've got individual platters.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. You've got a variety of products. And what's do you know your average order value?
We're around £150, a little bit higher in the US, interestingly.
So I just kind of to get an idea of this, I really just kind of need to know the sort of some of the numbers. So if the average order is 150 and you can accept you'll be happy with a 3.5 ROAS, so you're getting £3.5 back for every pound that you're spending. But you're only spending 2K, because I mean, as you'll know, 2K or 2 to 3K is 60, 70 pounds a day. How many campaigns are you running within your accounts? If I was to go into your Google ad account, how many campaigns would I see?
You would see around 15 live at the moment.
15 campaigns.
Yeah,
that's way too many. I'll tell you that now, because if you've got 50, why so many?
Well, I mean, so there's a search and a shopping campaign for each geography, effectively.
Okay.
And then there are some separate restaurant-specific ones, and then.
But that must mean on that level of budget, you must be spreading yourself so thin on a daily budget per campaign.
Well, we are spending that because that's all we can spend. I would be spending 10K tomorrow.
But that's so. What are the campaigns on max conversions then? Is that like,
some of them
what is shackling your ability? Because if you give Google
just the audience, but the agency I'm using are telling me that there is just not enough people searching for the concept.
But what is it? So what is it you're targeting right now?
In terms of
like search terms. So you're running a search campaign or a shopping that's going to work on the search results pages. So what is it that you're actively targeting right now? What would I have to Google search for you to come up?
Probably two specifically, our concept in particular, as in hot stone cooking, steak on a stone, cooking steak at the table, live cooking experiences. Right. It becomes, again, their issue has been that if you go into searching for how to cook steak, you can be, you'd never get a ROAS of more than, 2 if you were lucky, because you're just getting traffic that is not looking for you. And, that's where we're falling out at the moment.
Right. Okay.
Because obviously I say they've turned the dials too far and, I want to go back and, we've got to get more traffic, and I can't believe that we can't be.
So what sort of numbers are you getting traffic, volume to the, what sort of volume are you getting into the account on a monthly basis in terms of clicks?
Honestly, right now I couldn't tell you, because we're not on top of our analytics since we moved over. We have only been across on Shopify for about 6 weeks.
But even if you were to look at your Google ad account, are we talking tens of clicks, hundreds of clicks, thousands of clicks? Like, what are we getting? I can guess,
certainly hundreds a day, as in, and thousands a month, yeah.
Okay. So what do you know your average cost per click? Because no, fine. Because for me, I haven't seen the ad account, so it's, I'm having to sort of, guess with some of this. But if you've got, so there's so many campaigns, it would be very, very rare. All right. And being targeted, being targeted and not going too broad and actually going after really what is the product and focusing on that does make sense. Your search term data, your Google Search Console is going to be a great resource. I don't know if you ever use that to really unpick exactly how do people search. And I would hope your agency already are delving into that, and they're really looking at, well, how do people search for the product? I'll tell you now, without seeing any of your data, I will be amazed if the market for this product only allows you to spend. I just don't believe it. I don't believe that. I've never seen. Particularly, you're advertising for the biggest, UK, US, Australia. I can pretty much guarantee, without seeing any of this data, that there's going to be far more search than you are getting for a couple of $2 or $3 grand a month. So it's not going to be. I don't believe it's going to be the market size, because it's a niche product, but it's not an obscure. No one's ever heard of this thing. There's going to be people searching. So then, for me, it comes down to, if we're not getting volume into the ad account, and we seemingly can't spend them, what exactly are we bidding on? And are we giving the campaign? So, for example, classic symptoms I see all the time is if you're running lots of campaigns and they're on max conversions, but you're not getting the volume of conversions into a campaign, Google will just falter. Because it's going, well, you're telling me you want conversions, but I'm only getting 1 or 2 a week, half a dozen a month or whatever. Therefore, it never gets out of learning, and it can't really do its thing. So I don't know if that's the case, but that is a symptom I see quite a lot.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you know some of the you said some are on max conversions. Do you know what some of the other types might be in terms of the other campaign strategies you're going after with this?
I could look, but as I mentioned,
No, that's fine.
Slightly sketchy signal. I don't want to knock us out on here.
No, that's fine. So I think that's something. These are things really to just go and look at. I think that is an absolute must. Go and look at the campaigns. I would not be. I would not be going after anything on max conversions. I would be thinking about, and look, the way, what you've got to do with this, when you've got a Google Ads account, I see this all the time, when you've got a Google Ads account that's just seemingly hitting a glass ceiling and you're just kind of, I just can't get this thing to work. What you've got to do is step away from your Google Ads, okay? And look at this and look at the overall visibility. So I would be delving into your Google Search Console account. That is your organic data. So it's nothing to do with paid. Look at your organic data, and that will give you an idea of, in the UK, in the US, you can look by different market, how many people are searching, and crucially what they're searching for. And then what I'd be doing is taking those, because it might be that you're targeting the right terms, maybe there's not some of the right terms and so on, and you're going to need to work out which are the right terms and so on. You might, if the numbers are limited, need to go a little bit broader, but that's something your GSC would show you. But then what you're going to need to do is make sure that when you go back into your Google Ads account, all the settings are right, that you're not shackling, because often with an account, it's very rarely is it a volume thing. Very rarely is it just there just aren't the people searching. It's generally going to be that the way a campaign is set up is not allowing for the volume, or there's a glass ceiling that Google's going, look, I can't get the conversions, therefore I'm not going to spend the budget. And we see it a lot. Is we're giving this thing £300, £400, £500, £1,000 a day budget to spend. It's spending 50 quid. What's going on? Yeah. And it's because of how it's set up. So and what you want to do, if you need to, with these campaigns, if you need to kickstart them, some of the best ways to do that, and one of our preferred, you can go for a max click strategy, which is where you just tell Google, I want volume. I'm personally not a fan of that. What we tend to do with campaigns, if we need to kickstart them into gear, is either go manual, and you can apply manual. You understand what I talk about with the bid strategies, yeah? Yeah. So you either go manual. Then you have full control. You can set the CPC, particularly if you've got good data and you can see, well, consistently a click is costing us, £1 or $1.50. You can set that, and then you're going to have to measure it and monitor it closely. That can work quite well, or both of the strategies I'm going to tell you, because the other one is target impression share. Both of these, because target impression share is the other one, because that's where you say, look, I want a portion of the market. I can see there's X amount of people searching on a daily, weekly, monthly basis for this across the different geo-target areas. I want to focus on getting 60% of the market, 80% of the market. Now, you won't get all of that, but if you set your stall out to say that's what you want, both of those strategies, target impression share and manual CPC, work really well to kickstart a campaign if it's faltering, if it just can't seem to get going. And they will work well. But the thing you're going to need to check is your search terms report. You need to make sure that you're getting relevant terms, that you're not getting a load of crap in there. So you need to make sure that review your search terms, look at the data coming in. Are the clicks you're getting relevant? If they are, I would be I would be slimming the campaign. If I'm on a 2-3K budget, there's no way I'd have more than 3 campaigns. Because I would, even £1,000, even a £1,500 budget is 50 quid a day, on per campaign. Now, the other option you could apply to this to your account is a shared budget. Are you doing that, or have you got individual budgets?
They're individual
budgets. Yeah, fine. So is there? I mean, again, this gets into the weeds, but do you know, when you're looking at it, if there's any campaigns that are spending the budgets and maybe there are just others that are just not? Do you know that? Do you know if there's ones where that's limited by budget?
Yeah, I think outside of the UK, US, and Australia, Europe, for example, we're spending so little, that has been exactly what you said, that they're going, well, you're just not spending anything, so Google doesn't work out.
It's not. It's just not. You got to feed the beast. You got to feed the machine. Google is a beautiful thing and it will work for you, but you got to feed it. And I think for me, I would, if this was my account, there's no way I'd have that many campaigns. Sorry, there's no way I'd have any of them max conversions, because you got to look at your search terms report, look how people are searching. You need to come out of Google Ads and look at your organic data and really understand exactly how people search. Because if Google says, 100,000 people, 50,000 people have searched for this product, that in itself, and this is how they search for this term or that term or this phrase, that in itself is validation that, okay, there is a market for the product, which there is. You've just got to get in front of more of them. And if you have to sort of, go, I'm going to accept lower ROAS because I'm going to go for a target impression share, or I'm going to adopt a manual CPC to sort of kickstart the campaign, then so be it. That's what you've got to do. Before we go any further, are you enjoying today's episode? If so, you'll love our other show, Tea Talks. They're short, informal chats where the Evergreen experts and I share actionable nuggets on all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy that we use daily when growing our clients' businesses. And best of all, much like this podcast, it's completely free. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, see the link in the description. Now, let's get back to it. Within the campaigns, how many ad groups are you running per campaign? This would be the search campaigns now. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
No, fine. And you're running, because you're also, the other thing, you said you're running shopping, right? You're running shopping campaigns.
Yeah.
So are you, how many different products do you have? So like total different products, how many do you have?
We've got around 40 to 50, but we've really trimmed down what we're showing on the shopping, to focus on our key products rather
Fine.
than
So how many are loaded into your shopping campaigns right now?
Maybe 10, 15.
Okay. So you've got 10 to 15 products, and they are basically your best sellers, yeah?
Yeah.
Fine. But again, they, much like the search, are just not getting the traction. They're just not, because I've just Googled it while we've been talking, hot stone cooking, stuff like that. Let's have a look. So where are you? You are coming up. So you come up, I've got one, the original sizzling steak set for hot stone cooking. So you are coming up in both the shopping and the branded up. So you are coming for stuff like that. I guess this is all going to come down to how people are searching, because I'm just looking. Yeah. So some of the terms, and also with your search terms, are you bidding on exact or phrase or broad? Do you know what you're doing?
Mix. Yeah. Some are exact, because on our brand campaigns, they're obviously exact.
Have you got separate brand campaigns?
Yeah.
So you've got a standalone brand campaign, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. That's
and that's what I mean when I said we've got multiple campaigns. It's literally, there's a shopping, a search, and a brand for each location. So that's where we quickly.
Fine. Okay. Fine. So okay, but then, on this level of budget,
you know what it's like. I mean, it's just, you could speak to 5 people and someone's going to tell you to go broad for a very good reason. Someone's going to tell you, I have an ad account manager at Google, and they tell me something, and I go back to the agency and they're like, well, they would tell you this because you're going to spend more. And you just end up lost in a world of pain with the whole thing. But as I say, when it's not doing what you want, you've got to make some changes, and that's where we're at now. I mean, we were spending too much for not enough. Probably end of last year, we just saw our ROAS just going, just kind of nosediving. And
but this is a volume. This you're never going to get. On the volumes you're doing, because so if you're spending 2, right? So at the minute, you're running you're running £600,000 business, but if you're spending 2, 3, 4K a month on Google, and we're aiming for a 5 times ROAS, that's only so. Proportionally, that must mean Google is contributing what, 10, 15K a month in sales from Google Ads?
From the paid side,
from the paid side, which over the course of the year. So does that mean your business reliance on Google Ads, what, 15, 20%?
Yeah.
So where's the rest of your reliance of your business? Like, what makes up? Have you ever heard me talk about the backbone of digital marketing? So it's a concept whereby any brand, you need to understand how reliant your brand is on the traffic you're buying. So that's any ad, Google, Meta, anything that you're buying, how much you own. So what's your direct, the traffic that's coming in direct, therefore the traffic that is, people that search for you by brand, repeat, returning. So they're the people you effectively, we group them in saying we own that traffic. Then you've got the traffic you're nurturing. So by that, we bucket that and we think of social media and email marketing. Very important channels, great for building that know, like, and trust, staying top of mind, nudging those customers from interest into purchasing. Then you've got the earning side, which is your SEO, so your organic visibility. So for you, a good exercise to do would be to understand that split of what is the direct side of our business contributing, what are we getting from socials and email, what are we getting from organic, and then what are we getting from paid. Yeah, I think that. Have you done any of that? Have you ever looked at it in that sort of way, or do you know what your organic is, or your social is, your emails? Do you know any of that?
Yeah, I think we'd be pretty good across that. But do
you think you'd be fairly even across that split?
Well, bar the one that is dwindling for us, which is the restaurants. We're doing our marketing for us to a large extent, and we know they're not so much at the moment. So that's been the one that's really tailed off. And I guess the audience from that affect all of this. Some might search for the brand because they've seen it on the product. Some might search for the concept. Some might respond to an email they've got, or see it on a social. So it's that definitely affects each of these different channels, and that's probably the big battle at the moment.
It is, but I mean that's so. But then with your Google ad, I mean, so if we zoom out a little bit, where are we trying to take this brand? Because that's always, I think, key to sort of, a lot of people love to put the cart before the horse and sort of love to, kind of go, right, we're going to run ads. But actually, before we delve into, as you say, to worry too much about the ROAS and this, that, and the other. Like, if we zoom out a little bit, we're doing 600. What's the target for the next for the next year? Where do you want to get the business back to?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we did the mill, and we'd like to be doing that again. So,
so this is kind of what I want to challenge on, right? So if we want to do a mill, so for me, if this was my business, what I'd be thinking is, right, I want to get back to a mill. I'd be going, as it stands now, the 600 I'm doing, where is that coming from? Now we're in a data-driven world, so it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what's working because of the way privacy and data now works, but. To as best as we can understand it, what I think is important, I'd want to understand is how reliant is my brand on the traffic I'm buying? What have I got that's in terms of brand visibility, people that are searching for me direct, that I can get a good sense of through Google Search Console. Then I want to look at how my social media is performing and what I'm doing with email. Am I doing enough? Am I staying out there? And then I want to look at what I'm getting in terms of traffic and volume through the traffic when I exclude brand in Google Search Console for the traffic that I'm effectively earning. So I'd want to understand that. And if you have got a relatively good split and you can sort of go, well, I'm 25% on, through paid. And then I would imagine you're going to be, say 25, if you're 25% on Google, you're probably going to have at least the same, probably a little bit more, 30% direct repeat. You're then going to have probably 25% again through your socials. And if you're doing email marketing, the SEO tends to be one of the smaller portions for most brands that are under a mil. It tends to be that it's making up 10, 15% as a general rule of thumb from the brands I look at. So if this was me, what I'd be going is, okay, we want to get from say 6 to a mil. The first thing you need to understand is, okay, is the market there? How many people are searching, and understanding your average order value, understanding the lifetime value, how many sales do I actually need to make? So to make up that 400K, how many additional sales do I need to be making over the next 12, 24 months or whatever it's going to take to that feels like a big leap from 600 to a mil in the next 12 months. It, owing to what you've said about the market slowing, feels like I'd maybe look at going, maybe this is an 18-month plan, maybe it's a 24-month plan, but understanding and going, well, okay, what's understanding the market? So how many people are searching, understanding how many people are searching, understanding the average order value and how many sales I therefore need would be the next thing I'd want to do. Do you know how many sales you need to be making to get that sort of revenue? Like if you think back to COVID, what did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to look at the business very much at the moment as, listen, if we can get 20% more people spending 20% more, and coming back 20% more of the time, then, we're getting up by 60%, right? So that's...
Yeah, exactly. So I think, so I think and obviously, of course, because now you're wanting to get back up to the mil plus, but with a very different business model, because now you're going to be very heavily weighted on the customer rather than the restaurant. Now, if the restaurant comes back in, and that will hopefully come back, I think as the next couple of years trundle on, I think that's going to increasingly come back. I think as things, we're normalizing, we're on a 5-year cycle. So if you think COVID 21, I think I see economically, I see that, things go in 5-year cycles. So I think we've been in a bit of a lull back into 23, early 24 has been a bit of a lull. 25, 26, I think it's going to come full circle again. So, but if you wanted to do a mill, the point I'm trying to make is you've got to understand where's that growth going to come from. So I'd be going, well, when it comes to paid, what role does paid need to play, right? So I'd be thinking, if paid right now, if you're doing 10K in sales, let's say paid is contributing 100, 125 K to the overall turnover right now. If we want to go from 6 to a mil, I would say paid is going to probably need to pay, because paid is one of the quickest routes to market, and it's one way that you can really drive that visibility, and you feel the knock-on benefit. More paid, more clicks, eyeballs to the site, you're going to see an uplift in direct, you're going to see an uplift in brand, you're going to see an uplift on your socials. To drive this, I would be thinking at least a third of my revenue needs to be coming attributed via paid. Therefore, if you're wanting to hit 1 million in the next 12, 18, 24 months, I'd be thinking, right, I need to take my paid revenue from, in terms of, say it's doing about 100, I need to take up to about 350 in terms of revenue. So I would then be going, right, to do 350 in paid, knowing there'll be a domino effect correlation. If I need to do 350 paid revenue, how many sales do I need to make 350? And then once I understand that, I would then be saying, right, in order to do that, you essentially need to 3x give or take 3x your current paid performance. you need to use the organic data to understand how people search. And that would dictate, if you think, right, with our current strategy, can we 3x the volume into the account? No, you're not, because seemingly you're hitting a glass ceiling. Therefore, we need to rein in the number of campaigns. We need to rein in the way in which, the ROAS, so we need to reduce the ROAS, and we need to get more volume into the account. But that sort of commercial way of thinking about it is how I would approach this. I don't believe that this is a search, in terms of search volume issue. I just don't believe it. I think this is going to come more down to how the Google Ads are set up, and maybe the agency, whoever's doing it, maybe not being clear on exactly what success looks like for this brand. So are they clear on, because I think sometimes marketers, and I see it a lot, they get very het up with, ROAS this and ROAS that, but actually, are they clear on, have you said to them, look guys, we need to hit $250,000 in sales in the next 12 months or whatever? Have you had that sort of conversation with them?
No, we haven't. And I think, I need to move, because I've worked with these guys before, and, it's just, they are, as you say, they're obsessed on one thing, and that is, and it's a noble thing, right? They just want to not waste my money, and but I think we've gone too far the other way, as I touched on.
But if it's faltering, ultimately, there's a million metrics out there. I never look at any one metric in isolation, because I think it tends you down a path where you can get fixated on a certain thing, whether it's ROAS or whatever. I see it time and time again. So we would always look at two or three metrics, at any one time, but before that, you've got to look at the commercials. So for me, this, looking at, again, I could have a look, when we come on, I can more than happy to have a look at your search console, because, and I might be proved wrong. I might look at it and go, blimey, there's only been 10,000 searches for this product in the last year. If that is the case, I would be very surprised. Assuming the market's there, just looking at the SERP, so the search results page in Google, I can guarantee there's going to be more searches, because there's so many products on here. There's so many brands that are doing this sort of stuff. There's going to be a market for this. I think you might have to go beyond just the core terms to get it. And that, again, as long as that's mapped out and you planned and understood, if I'm looking for, as you say, those how to cook a steak, stuff like that, I don't see, that's not a hop, skip and a jump. If I'm looking for, maybe not exactly that phrase, but that if there's intent, if I'm looking for different ways, stuff like that, you might have to do that. And again, you can mitigate that in terms of, from an ad perspective, by setting low thresholds in terms of what you're prepared to pay for those clicks. Because you go, well, look, there's not the commercial intent there directly. Indirectly, there might be. Therefore, I'm only prepared to pay a very minimal amount for those clicks. And you can do that. And then you're getting the volume into the account. But I think there's that, but there's also I'd say the changing of the bid strategies, and just making sure. I see it a lot where campaigns are kind of shackled in as much as you're not getting the volume in, and you look at it and you go, we can't spend the budget. We're not getting the clicks. We're not getting the volume. Rarely is it that the market's not out there. It will be something in the weeds that's just not allowing you to do it. The other thing that I think is really important, that, outside of paid, because paid's great, but as I said, you want to do 1 million. I think paid plays maybe a third part of that. And I'm a massive advocate of, do not put all your eggs in any one basket. The other thing that I think is really important for you, and I see you doing some of it on your website, which is your organic. So if you've got, I love the brand name, Stak Stones is a great brand. You've got a bit of history there. It's a great product. But in terms of from like an SEO, from an organic perspective right now, what are you doing on that front? Have you got anyone actively working on your SEO? On doing your kind of content strategy? Have you ever had anyone in place doing that? Because you've got on your website like meal ideas and stuff like that. Who's implemented that sort of stuff?
Yeah, over the years, that's just what we do. We're obviously trying to, create interest around the concept and the brand. And
right. Because look, to challenge you then, right? Why Google is a search engine, yeah? It has no interest in helping you rank top for Stak Stones or anything to do with this as a topic. If we think of the topic is cooking a steak, right? Google has no interest in helping you become, do. So what are you doing on your website that is going to reinforce and demonstrate to Google that you are the authority, you are the expert, you are a source of expertise, of knowledge, of this is a great product and a great way of cooking a steak? What's on the website that would tell me, if I was Google, that you're the authority?
Well, hopefully enough content around the concept without, being too wordy and having too much.
But where would I find that? Where would I find that? Because I've got the shop, which is all the product, right? That's just the way Google will look at your shop, as it does not. And this is nothing against you. This is every e-commerce brand. Google will look at your shop and see a load of product images and links to buttons that say add to cart, add to basket. It doesn't give a toss about any of that. So what is on the website that Google's going to actually care about or find value in? Is there anything like you got the meal ideas? Is that where you'd sort of say that's probably the thing? I'm stumped a little because I'm trying to understand what they would be looking for. I guess that's the thing. I know I'm being sort of hard, but the reason because this I have had this conversation a million times, and the reason I'm saying is because this is exactly the point. And if you take nothing away from that, I mean, take the paid things that I've said about and go and challenge your agency and get them doing those things, please, because I think there's those things I've covered. I think there's some valid points, and just go and say, are we doing this? Have we thought about this? But from a wider perspective, you want to grow this brand, what you've got to do is you've got to become and think of it as, look, right now, I've got a website. It is a shop window. Yeah. It's got a load of products on it. Yep. And I'm trying to sell my wares like every other e-commerce brand does. Google doesn't care about that. It has no interest in helping you sell more of your products, right? So what happens is brands go, well, I'm not ranking very well. Right. The only way I'm going to get sales is I'm going to have to do ads. And ads absolutely plays a role. But what we want from ads long term is we want ads to be the cherry on the cake, not the whole flipping cake. And so the way we get around that is you look at your website, not just as a shop window, but as an information resource, right? So you say, look, on the one hand, yes, I want to have all my products. I want to showcase this is all the great stuff. You want to have this is about us and this is what we're up to and here's how to get in touch. And oh, did you know we supply to restaurants? You want all of that stuff. It's beautiful. But the other thing you need, and is maybe lacking here, is, and we are the experts, and here is the value. So you need to think, what are the questions your customers are asking, right? What are the pain points? How can you educate, entertain, inspire? How can you offer value? How can you showcase and really provide huge value? So if you think of every time a restaurant or a customer has bought the product, or every question you've ever been asked, or every, as I said, pain point, anything and everything that feels relevant to why you created the product in the first place. I mean, what you said at the very top was the reason for why you created the product and why you went and did the research was, right? Those are the sort of points that you need to be thinking about and thinking, right, there are still going to be loads of people that are going to be having those questions going, as you say, how to cook a steak? What are the best ways to do this? Yeah. How to hit? There's going to be, you're going to know way more than I am, but there's going to be so many questions and things that people are going to be searching for and looking for. Now, ultimately, the answer is, hey, we've got the product, we've got the solution. But if you lead in with that, and that's all your website has, Google doesn't care. You're not giving Google any reason to care. Yeah. So what you've got to do is you've got to feed Google what it wants, and it in turn will give you what you want. And that, what I'm describing. Go on.
Sorry, when you put a question into Google and you'll get a couple of links at the top that take you to sites, and then you'll get the Q&As almost that Google's put together.
Yep.
What metrics are they using to choose who's in there? Because again, we're not doing particularly
relevance.
Well on that front.
No, you're not. Absolutely. So it's all about relevance. It's all about, I completely agree you should be, right? It's all about relevance. So, right, and this is what you need to be doing, Nick. This is it, I've just put into Google, what is hot stone cooking, right? That is just, I can imagine there would be people looking for that, right? So what is hot stone cooking? Now, the top one that there's, one of your competitors, I'm not going to say who, but they come up top when you search for that, and then you scroll down the results. There's a whole bunch. You are nowhere on this first page. In answer to your question, where the people also ask that section, that you get in there by making your website an information resource, by answering those questions, doing that consistently, and over time, Google will see you as a trusted authority on the topic of how to cook with hot stones, how to do this, how to do that, and then it will place you in there. Now, there's certain optimization little hacks and things that you can do to accelerate that, but fundamentally, it is a case of make your website a source of of great content, of information and answers to questions and educate. Yeah. It's not a one and done. It's not something you just do and then, we've written 10 guides. We're off to the races now. You got to be consistent. And a great way you can do this is when you think, right, I'm going to write a guide, or I'm going to write some answers to key questions, or I'm going to write a resource, or I'm going to record a video and I'm going to, answer these people's questions. And then I'm going to include the transcript on a page on our website. When you do all of that stuff, what Google will do is it will start to see you, and do it with consistency. Google starts to see you as an authority, and you start to gain Google's respect, if you like. Yeah. And what that will do is then when you'll start to become synonymous with the topic of, steak stones and hot stone cooking and hot plate and all of those terms. You start to become synonymous with it, and that then a high tide raises all the boats, right? You will start to see increased visibility organically for your commercial terms, because essentially what you're doing is you're feeding Google what it wants, so it in turn goes, this is great, this is a website I actually find value in, because it's actually good information on here. I'm going to now give you what you want because I've got a reason to. Right now, you've sort of half done this as a concept with the meal ideas, right? So you've got a meal ideas section on the website where it is doing that. It's giving people, here's how to, this type. It's essentially recipe and different ways in which you could utilize the product, which is good. It's along the right lines. But what this is not doing is capturing people that are curious and looking for the how, the why, the where, the who. It's that stuff that you need to be doing. Yeah. And again,
that makes sense.
Your Google Search Console will be a treasure trove at doing this. Equally, if you had someone working with you, or if you had the tools themselves, reverse engineering your competitors would give you a treasure trove of ideas, even going on and doing some Googling, good old fashioned, just go into Google search, right? And I mean, even I can give you a whole bunch. I'm going to get a whole bunch now and we'll just go through it, because this is beautiful. And for those of you listening and watching this, we're talking steak stones and hot stone cooking. This same principle applies to you and your business. So take it and go and do with it. Go and do these same steps. So for example, I've searched what is hot stone cooking, right? Now, some of the similar and related questions there are, and they're all around the same topic, but this will give you ideas of, you could create a guide on everything you could want to know about hot stone cooking. And that is literally one of the things I would create, is an everything you could possibly want to know about hot stone cooking. Because some of the things that people have, the questions people ask and the answers Google's giving around that topic. What is the best meat to cook on a hot stone, right? How to cook with hot stones? What are the benefits of cooking with hot stones? What are the disadvantages of cooking with hot stones? How hot does a hot stone need to be, or how hot is it? It's all of these type of things. And then if you keep going down, you start to get into unrelated, more about like massaging and stuff. So it needs to stay on topic, but you can see how you could create a guide and a resource around that as a topic. And if you did that and you sort of mind mapped out the different sort of core topics, and again, another tip for you when you're doing this is you can think of, when you're coming up with topics and you're thinking, that feels like a good one, how to do this and why to do this and when to do this. Best thing you can do, go onto Google, search for it, find who's in the top 2, top 3 results, because that is Google saying, hey, that's the best I've got right now. And so you've got to use that as your benchmark. And when you're creating it, you've got to go, okay, well, that's a pretty good, how can I improve on that guide? So for example, I'm just looking at one of your competitors now, right? And they come up top for one of the search terms that I've been looking for. Now they've written effectively a blog post. It's not great. Visually, I would say it's 300-400 words. It's got a few internal links and it's got one image in it. The bar is very low with this example. So for this, I'd be thinking, right, well, like if I created a more in-depth guide, if I incorporated this topic as part of the wider guide, I'm going to the ultimate guide, the best roundup or whatever it might be. If I maybe added in some video, better creative, really took more time, so it doesn't just look like a bland, boring blog post that no one's going to read, but actually a really useful, exciting, interesting piece of content, you would trump this competitor within 3 months. And then you just build on from that and build on from it. And am I making sense? Because I'm getting like really like this.
No, absolutely.
So many
and listen,
for this.
We've been the leader in what we do, and people have copied us. So perhaps you sit there perhaps and go, well, they're copying me. I'm still ahead, but maybe they're copying me and doing a better job on some of the fronts.
I think have you ever heard of the concept evergreen content? Have you ever heard of that as a phrase? Evergreen content, right? That is why my agency is called what it is, because that is, as a concept, it is evergreen content means create everlasting content. Create content once, make it the best on the web, and when you do that, it will be everlasting. It will rank, it will perform, it will add value for your business forever, right? So, and that's where I when I started my agency more than a decade ago, no one was doing that. And I knew, because I could read between the lines of what Google was saying at the time, that they were saying, look, everyone was launching websites in the late, in the 2000s and the early 2010s. Everyone was launching websites. But the trouble was, none of those websites deserved to rank. They had no added value. And so I set about, well, actually, if we just actually make this website an information resource, if we make it genuinely valuable, if we showcase the expertise of whatever that person is in business, what the product, the service they sell, that makes common sense. And so you create content. Now, you might have to upgrade that content. You might have to improve it over time as the bar gets raised by your competitors, because they see you doing a really great job and then they double down and then you have to raise the bar. That happens. But the concept is, are people looking for, and how can you help people? Are people looking for what is hot stone cooking, and what are the benefits and what are the disadvantages, and how to cook, and what's the best meat? They were probably asking those questions a few years ago, right? Are they going to be asking those same questions in 5 years? Absolutely they are. So if that's the case, if we create a really good guide and we put some video and we really take the time to create some really great evergreen content, and then within that content, you're linking off to the product, and so you're helping the customer or the potential customer, or you're helping the user to become a customer. You're also feeding Google what it wants. And in doing that, it's going to give you more of what you want, which is increased visibility for your commercial terms. And in doing that, you're diluting your reliance on paid media.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
Aaron, sorry, I'm being kicked out of where I'm parked, and I don't want to lose you and just drop off the
no
phone call. I found somewhere quiet, and it turns out it's a bowls club, and they're shutting the gates. So.
Oh, nightmare. Look, don't worry. I know you said you called in from your phone, so don't worry. Look, we'll wrap this one up there. Hopefully, Nick, I've given you some things to think about. I really appreciate you being on, and we'll catch up soon. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's been great talking with you. I really appreciate your advice and thoughts. And
well, you get yourself parked up, bless you.
I know. Well, as I mentioned, moving house, and the router's not there yet, so it's
no worries. It was a bit of a last minute change, so don't worry. I appreciate you being on. Hopefully, I've given you some things to think about. You get yourself parked up. We'll speak soon.
All right, good man. Thank you.
Take care.
All the best. Cheers.
Take care. Bye. Well, that doesn't happen every day, that we have a guest who has to move his car. He, bless him, he did say he had to phone in. And I said, that's fine. You're only on audio, so that's absolutely fine. He's having to move his car. What a nightmare. I'm sure we can all relate to that. But there you go. That was a really interesting one. That hopefully that's given Nick food for thought in terms of what he needs to do, not just with his paid media, but also organically. And just whatever you're selling, product, service, industry, sector, it doesn't matter. If you have a website and all you're doing with that website is using it to showcase your product, you are missing a trick, because fundamentally you are not going to be giving Google what it wants. And if frankly, look, if you want Google to give you what you want, you've got to give it what it wants. Nick isn't doing that. Hopefully, if he takes nothing else away from it beyond doing the paid, if he starts to thinking that way, and the first step to solving this is thinking like that, is acknowledging you may have the most beautiful website in the world, but if all that website is doing is saying, here's all of our products, right? Why should I care? Why should Google care? And if Google doesn't care, it doesn't matter how well you optimize your website. It doesn't matter how many products you have. It doesn't matter how much you double down on paid. You're always going to have a huge reliance on paid, because you're not giving Google anything that it wants to make you deserve to rank. And that is a problem that I see so many brands still making, and I have seen over many, many years.
I think it's a really good point you just mentioned there about the sort of giving that educational content as well. Because we know that's so popular.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've just been looking at the website, and you can see all of these sort of blog posts that he's done under the news section.
Right.
I mean, I was genuinely looking at this while recording, thinking, I could get into this.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
But the one thing that would stop me is it looks a little bit complicated.
Right.
Like, how do I do it? How do I get started? What's the right way of doing it?
Yeah.
And I think if you transform that news section into almost like a Steak Stones Academy, something like that.
Yeah,
how do you get started?
As you say, it's a getting started guide. You know, it's a hot cooking for beginners type stuff. It's thinking about it from a customer's perspective or a potential customer, thinking, you know, this is a lifestyle product. Really, you don't need this product. It's a lifestyle product, right? So it's thinking about that and actually using your website with written guides, great visuals, you know, close-up photography showing, you know, using the product, really just making it really easy. Video is going to be a great medium to be able to showcase this, explain what and why and what are the benefits and what are this, and all of that stuff. That is how he transforms this business and scales it and becomes, which is what he wants to do, the market leader, becomes the go-to authority. Because right now, he may be one of the people that has been in the market the longest. He may be someone that others have copied him, and he may have an amazing product range. But right now, the reason his business is not growing is because he's got separate issues with his paid ads. But from a website perspective, why does he deserve to?
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve to. And when you don't deserve to rank, when you don't deserve to actually, you're not giving Google anything of that it wants, and you're not thinking about the customer, and you're just going, well, here's the product.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And we see it so many times again. And I can guarantee there'll be so many people watching this that if you actually take a step back and you look at your own website and you think about your own brand, you'll probably have to ask yourself some hard questions and go, we kind of are the same. We kind of are just a shop window. And if you are, accept that from an organic perspective, you're going to struggle. And in an ever increasingly competitive paid world, it means you're going to have to keep up with the Joneses. You're going to have to accept that your auction price is going to go up. Your cost per clicks are going to go up. It means you've got to do, it means you need expertise when it comes to the paid. But as I've said, and I'll say it, you know, I've said it every day of my career and I'll continue to do it, is the sweet spot for any brand growing online is you need to have a mix of channels. You don't want to be overly reliant on any one channel. And when it comes to the organic channels, this is the way you need to be thinking about it. So there you go. There's a real sort of evergreen sort of organic and paid masterclass in this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me. Good fun this one. We'll see you on the next one. All the best. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, well, on the left side of the screen, you'll find a video that YouTube has hand-picked just for you. On the right, you'll find our latest video hot off the press. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and hit that notification button. Thanks for watching.